Hi, welcome to That's So Noble. I'm Elizabeth Noble, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create your first published profile. Let's get started. We've previously been working with database projects inside of Azure Data Studio. As you can see, I already have my database project book catalog, open in Azure Data Studio. However, I don't currently have a way to create published profiles inside of Azure Data Studio. Hopefully that's something that'll change soon. In the meantime, we're going to need to open up this project inside of Visual Studio. I've got Visual Studio here, and I'm going to go ahead and navigate to my database project. So I'm going to select Open, Project Solution, and I've already got my file path set up, so I'm going to select the folder, and then select on the database project book catalog.sql project file and select Open. Now, because I'm in Visual Studio, I'm now using SQL Server Data Tools for my database project. So as you can see, I have a couple changes that have already happened inside of Visual Studio. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you what those changes are. So if I double click on the SQL project file, it shows me that there's a change to the GUID. And as you can see, it actually has a comparison. The left-hand side is the current code, and the right-hand side are the changes that are being suggested right now. And if I scroll down, there are some additional changes that will be happening. Most of those changes involve adding a space at the end of some of the files. And then I'm also getting this new file, which you can tell from add. It's actually going to create this tools version of current for SQL Server Data Tools. Now, before I commit those changes, I want to go back to Azure Data Studio and just take a look and see what's happened over there. What's happening here is that because I have both Azure Data Studio and Visual Studio open, the changes are reflected in both applications at the same time. I've got the same sort of changes to the project file, and then these additional spaces that are being added. And over here, the change that's happening is under this SQL Proj user file. So wherever you'd like to go to save these changes, you can. And I've added my commit message, and I'm going to go ahead and commit that locally, and then I'm going to sync those changes. Now, when I open Visual Studio, it should show the same thing. As you can see, I have no changes displayed. Before we start a published profile, I'm going to close out these files, and I am going to build this solution. Now, it's giving me an error telling me that my project does not reference the .NET Framework version 4.5, and that I need to add a reference to the target framework property of my project file. So let's clean the solution, and then build the solution again. And our build succeeds. We should now have the option to publish the profile. And so when we select Publish, it gives us a target database connection, which we can edit. And in our case, we know it's localhost, and it's database project catalog. And the database name is book catalog. So I'm going to change that name, and then select test connection. The test connection succeeds, and select OK. We can have a publish script name. I'm going to change this publish script name to match the database name of book catalog. But really where the power of published profiles comes into play has to do with this advanced section over here. And for instance, you've got a whole bunch of options available to you. You can block incremental deployment if data loss might occur. This is one that we've used extensively when we're just beginning with database projects. This is something that will prevent columns from being dropped from tables. It's important to know that you may need to change your process to allow incremental data loss in the future as your database develops over time. And then you can just go ahead and save this profile or create profiles, and this process creates the published profile. So now we have a database project book catalog published profile.xml. And if I go in to my Azure Data Studio, you can see that there's now been a whole bunch of changes that have happened in addition to this published profile. I can go ahead from Azure Data Studio and make these changes that I am creating this published profile, and then I'm going to synchronize my changes. And now, when I go back to my database project, select publish, now I can load my published profile. And this is one way that if you want to deploy your changes locally, you can do that. And you see at the very bottom, I have the option to generate a script or publish. So that's how you can get started with your first published profile. Thanks for joining me. Happy databasing.